Tell us about how you started playing the tabla.
Well, when I was brought home, when I was 2 days old, my father took me in his arms. The normal tradition was to sing religious things in the ear or recite some religious stuff, but instead he started singing rhythms in my ear. So that was the first that I had heard about rhythm, and from there on it was like every day in and out. And as you grow up in a music family, you keep hearing things and you bang on things, and before you know it, you're already kind of playing. So that's what happened, and by the time I was 7 or 8, I was already playing school concerts and things. But I think my general training or real training started when I was about 8, and until the time when I went on stage for my performance apprenticeship when I was about 13.
You're supposed to share a very special relationship with your father, who's also been your guru. Would you like to tell us something about that?
Well, I think the relationship between us has gone through many stages. The first stage, of course, was the one which was very important to him, and that was that of a guru. He felt it was important that the knowledge must be passed on. So every chance he got, he kept teaching me and wanting to make sure that I learned the music. And that went to a point where we became somewhat of a student-teacher people kind of thing, until the point when I was sent away to my aunt's house so that I would stop doing music and just studying school and finishing my courses there. At that time it became more of a father and son, because he started missing me and he would come over and spend time with me, and he wasn't allowed to teach me and all that stuff. So it was a father and son kind of thing, where he would take me out to get a drink, food and chart and whatnot and everything. So that was that. And then of course we became co-performers, started performing on stage over the past 15 or 18 years, and so it turned into a colleague kind of a relationship, which gradually went to a friend kind of a relationship, where we share with each other musical ideas and experiences and laugh and joke and do those things. So it's an incredible and I think an interesting concoction of guru, father, friend, colleague kind of a relationship. I think it's very special. We relate to each other at every level, and it's unique.
From your basic training, you went on to do a lot of different things. You've done music for films, you've acted in films, you did Shakti. How did Shakti come about? How did these different kind of performances come about?
Well, see, my growth as a musician was as it should be, from very low key to getting up as it should be, paying my dues kind of thing. I played in nightclubs, in smoky joints, and 3 shows a night, hands bleeding every night, playing with rock bands, and just tried to do whatever I had to do to be able to get the experience that I needed. And through that desire to get experience, I ran into various musicians. And one of the musicians, of course, I ran into was John McLaughlin. When I was in New York, I was giving a workshop, and he came for that workshop, and he wanted to find out something about Indian rhythms. So we got together, and then he also met Shankar in New York through that. And so it was he who brought us together. He said, look, I know this tabla player, to Shankar, and then to me he said, look, I know this violinist, so why don't we all play together? So it all came about that way, and we played together just for fun, and it turned out so good that 6 months later he called me and said, look, my record company says that we should go on tour as a band and make records. So that's how Shakti was born. This was way back in 1975 or something.
What did your father have to say to that?
He hated it in the beginning. He didn't like the idea of me moving away from traditional music, and he always felt that I was too young to have gone and done that. He wanted me to learn and have the experience of tradition first. But I promised him that whatever I do in terms of fusion or other kind of experiments, that I would return back to my roots and do traditional music and learn that music and keep performing it. So that would be my major thing, while my experimental stuff would be just a little thing on the side that I would do to get more information and learn more. And I've kept that up, so in the last 15-20 years he's been happy.
Do you strictly adhere to your gharana tradition of playing, or have you deviated?
When I studied, or still when I'm studying with him, I'm studying strictly my own gharana, which is his gharana, which he studied with his master in Lahore, and that gharana is Punjab. And so I have learned Punjab and all the traditional compositions and phrasings and all kinds of, rhythmic ideas and so on that are taught from Punjab style. So I've studied those. But when I'm performing with so many different kinds of musicians, whether it's a flautist or a dancer or a vocalist or another drummer or whatever. So what happens is you have to end up adopting and changing your style to suit with whoever you're playing with. So it's bound to happen that you will have to draw upon other styles and other schools. So that I do, and I find it that it's very interesting to be able to expand your repertoire by including other masters' repertoire into your playing. And I think that helps me to understand the instrument better. It's not just understood from just one point of view, which is Punjab, but it's also understood from the point of view of Delhi or Lucknow or Banaras. So it gives me a wider range and understanding of my instrument, and I think that.
Today you're a big star on the Tabla
Wow.
firmament. How did it feel to be in Heat and Dust?
Again, it was the need to want to learn more and experiment and find out about other aspects of art and culture. When I was in school, I also worked in plays on stage and did various things like that. So it was nice to be able to go and do a film. And the idea was to get knowledge and learn more from it, and about film music, about working in front of a camera and whatnot. I had not had any lessons in acting or anything. And I was a last-minute replacement of Nasiruddin Shah, so I had no idea what the film was all about and anything. But it was good to go there. It was a great learning experience, discipline. It was totally unmusician-like. You know, we had to be up at 5 a.m. and be ready with our makeup on and costumes on by 6, so that we could shoot from sun up till sundown. So one had to be in bed by 9, so they could be up at 5 a.m. So that kind of a discipline helped me to realize that focus is an important thing, and also Heat and Dust helped to get my face across to people and to a different audience, and other people started listening to me, and so I think that's partly responsible for what you may call the star status.
How did In Custody, the music for that, come about? And you just talked about the Bertolucci film.
Well, see, I was the
something.
co-music director on Heat and Dust as well.
Mhm.
When that was done, and so Ismail had always been in touch with me over the years, and we had been friends and all. So when he decided to be in custody, which is a very traditional subject, he wanted to get that kind of music, and so I don't know why he chose me and my friend Sultan Khan to help him do that. So, you know, Ismail calls, we run. You know, it's very nice to work with him. You get the freedom to experiment. You get the freedom to put your 2 bits in and tell. And he's always willing to listen, and he can say, no, Ismail, I think the melody should be like this, and he's willing to listen. It's not like, no, I want it this way and that's it. So it was great to work with a guy like that, and In Custody has been, I think for me, a great experience, because I got to use some of my music that I had learned when I was learning music in University of Washington in Seattle, where I did my PhD in music. So I used Western classical music like Mozart and Strauss and Schumann, various things like that, and utilize them in custody, as well as keeping the traditional ghazal patterns going. And so it was a challenging thing, and I enjoyed that very much. And I think it's paying off. It's good. But Bertolucci film was another thing, because they shot in India, as you know, Little Buddha. They shot in Bhutan and Nepal and various places in America and so on. And so the subject is very Indian. At the same time, they have very Western elements to it as well. So they wanted somebody who could work and combine the 2 aspects. And so they brought me together with another guy called Ryuichi Sakamoto, who's a Japanese musician. And we together worked out a whole music score which had Indian and Western flavor added to it. So Western traditional music, Indian traditional music, Western fusion music, Indian fusion music, and putting it all together. So it was a great experience to work with Bertolucci and do Little Buddha. It took 6 weeks to do the music, but it was a lot of fun.
What are your present concerns now? What are you looking forward to? What are your plans?
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more. You know, there's always a possibility of finding out new things and doing new work. I'm working with traditional things like shamanic drumming from Brazil, for instance. It's a shamanic priesthood, and the drumming is coming from there. So it's a religious thing, and I want to study that, and I want to go with Olatunji, the great Nigerian drummer, to his village and find out more about African talking drumming and the signal sending and messages and all that, and find out how that's all done. So these are things that I want to study. I want to go down the Nile, or up the Nile, whatever you want to call it, and experience the music from the desert, Nubian and tradition and whatnot. So there's a lot to learn out there, so I want to find out. I want to learn. And apart from that, I'm doing music scores for the next couple of Merchant Ivory films, which are going to be shot in India. And apart from that, another Australian film which I will start in late March. It's called Plantation, with Paul Hogan, the guy who's Crocodile Dundee, and so on. So that's all the next projects. And I'm also the president of my own record company, which is based in California.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Moment Records. So we are named as one of the top 10 world music labels by Billboard. So that's coming along. So it's a busy thing.
How do you relax and how do you get inspired? You seem to be.
I'm basically a relaxed person. I think whatever frustrations or hyperactive problems I have, they're all beaten out on tabla. So when I'm practicing and all, it's all gone, and I just feel no problems. It's okay, everything is fine, and I never rush. I just happen to be basically a sort of a relaxed kind of a guy who's never nervous.
You stay in the US.
I spend about 5 months in the US every year and about equal time in India as well. So you can say I live in both places. In the US, because in monsoon and summertime, there's no music really happening in India. So you go out and you perform there in the jazz festivals in Europe and get to know the musicians and work with them and find out about other aspects of music. Because see, we've always felt, we have 5,000 years old history of music, that we may be the teachers of music to the rest of the world. But I also feel that it's important to learn from the rest of the world so that we may understand from their point of view what we are, seeing us from outside as opposed to just being in here. So I believe that that's an important aspect of my learning. So that's what makes me different from maybe other tabla players, because I'm willing to look at my music from outside the house as opposed to just being in it and seeing it around me. So I'm just seeing the inner layer, not the outer layer. And that's an important thing for me. So we learn when we go out there and we see other musicians and they tell me what is important to them about my tradition. It makes me feel proud about my tradition. They love it.
Do you do anything else apart from playing the tabla? Do you play any other instrument? Or
I play about 200 different percussion instruments. And so I have those, but my main love and the specialty, of course, is the tabla. When I compose, I play the piano. I compose on the piano. I can strum on a guitar a little bit, just like any other normal dude.